In the heart of Uganda, a simmering crisis has been unfolding, turning once peaceful grazing lands into flashpoints of conflicts. The protagonists in this escalating drama are the Balaalo Herdsmen, a nomadic pastoralist group whose movements, traditionally centered around finding pasture and water, have increasingly been associated with the militarization of grazing. The question on the minds of many, particularly the agrarian communities whose livelihoods are directly impacted, is stark as Balaalo herdsmen harmed and dangerous. So the question is, are the Balaalo herdsmen harmed and dangerous? The answer is yes. There is a troubling pattern of incidents. Reports from various regions point a worrying picture, documenting a troubling pattern of incidents that suggest an undeniable shift towards armed cattling or cattle keeping. What was once a rare occurrence has become more commonplace, with herdsmen allegedly wielding not just traditional sticks and pangas, but increasingly firearms. One widely reported incident occurred in Northern Uganda's Apa area, a region already fraught with land disputes. In late 2023 and early 2024, residents reported numerous instances of armed Balaalo herdsmen encroaching on farmlands. Eyewitnesses described how these armed individuals would not only allow their cattle to graze freely on cultivated crops, leading to significant destruction, but would also use their weapons to intimidate and threaten local farmers who attempted to resist. In Amur district, the DVO was shot dead. Farmers recounted tales of entire maize and cassava fields being laid waste in a single night, leaving them with no harvest and immense financial issues. Confrontations often turned violent, with reports of beatings and even shootings when locals attempted to protest their property. While specific fatalities directly attributed to these confrontations were difficult to definitely link to individual Balaalo herdsmen, the climate of fear and the escalation of violence were palpable. One thing you need to know is Ochoara, who was the DVO of Amur, shot dead. Allegation came in, he denied to declare a disease outbreak which would stop Balaalo from being chased away. Further south in districts like Luwero and Nakasongola, areas historically known for cattle keeping but now experiencing increased pressure from Balaalo influx, similarly stories emerged. In mid-2024, several local leaders and residents in Luwero detailed how herdsmen, often accompanied by young men carrying AK-47 rifles, would forcefully occupy grazing lands and water sources. One particularly egregious incident involved the destruction of over 20 acres of simsim and beans in a village which is in northern Uganda, after armed herdsmen allegedly chased away farmers with gunshot. The local police, while often responding to these incidents, faced challenges in disarming and apprehending the perpetrators, who often moved safely across sparsely populated areas. The modus operandi, intimidation and displacement. The modus operandi, as described by affected communities, often follows a chilling pattern. Large herds of cattle accompanied by armed individuals would arrive in area. Initial attempts by locals to engage would often be met with indifference, followed by threats if resistance persisted. The sheer number of cattle, coupled with the visible presence of firearms, created an environment fear that effectively deterred any meaningful opposition. Even those who never wanted to sell their land, upon realizing these people had guns, had to sell their land. This, in turn, led to displacement of local farmers from their lands, either due to the destruction of their crops or the perceived threat to their lives. This also, the underlying factors, has come out a complex web. The militarization of grazing by some Balaalo herdsmen is not a standalone phenomenon, but rather a symptom of a complex web of socioeconomic and environmental factors. Land scarcity driven by population growth and changing land use patterns has intensified compensation for resources. Climate change, as we said earlier, leading to more frequent droughts, has pushed pastoralists into new areas in search for greener pasture. But then, for the case of Balaalo, it seems not. The availability of illicit firearms, often trickling in from conflict-ridden neighboring regions, has also contributed to the escalation of violence. While it is crucial to emphasize that not all Balaalo herdsmen are harmed or engaged in violent acts, the documented incidents undeniably point to a dangerous trend that, if stopped, it could lead to future escalation. The militarization of grazing is no longer a theoretical concept, but a lived reality for many Northern Ugandan communities. This question, are Balaalo herdsmen harmed and dangerous, is increasingly being answered in the affirmative by those on the front lines, bearing the brand of crop destruction, intimidation, and violent confrontations. Addressing these escalating crises requires a multifaceted approach, tackling land disputes, regulating firearms, and fostering peaceful coexistence between pastoralists and agrarian communities before more lives and livelihoods are irrevocably lost, and also before land policy or land reform is made. As long as land reform is not made which is favorable, it is better for Acoli to remain traditional, that is customary. Thank you.